Hello. So I wanted to read Daniel chapter 4 and kind of move forward with the study of Daniel. But before I get into the fourth chapter, I want to go over something in the third chapter that I did not go over. So in chapter 3, verse 33, we see Nebuchadnezzar speaking from his own mouth. He's saying, "How great are his signs! How mighty his wonders! His sovereignty is an eternal sovereignty. His empire lasts from age to age." And so, in my notes, in Genesis 1:14, we see the Lord, the Most High, Yahweh, is creating the sun and the moon. And he speaks about it being for signs and festivals and years. So, think about right now and all the signs that we're seeing too. There's a lot to be said with signs and his wonders. Let's check out his wonders. We're in Daniel, so think about all the other chapters in the Old Testament of the prior prophets and all the wonders. The biggest one that stands out to me is Moses. When Moses was leading the people out of Egypt, it rained manna from the sky and water from the rock. You want to talk about wonders? Look at all the stuff that happened to Egypt during that time. Okay, I wanted to share that because that's pretty powerful right there. So anyway, getting into chapter 4, it says, "I, Nebuchadnezzar, was living at ease at home, prosperous in my palace. I had a dream. It appalled me. Dread assailed me as I lay in bed. The visions that passed through my head tormented me. So I decreed that all the sages of Babylon be summoned to explain to me what the dream meant. Magicians, enchanters, Chaldeans, and wizards came. And I told them what I had dreamed, but they could not interpret it for me." Boom. Daniel renamed Belteshazzar after my own God. See that? Can you see that? You can't see that. Belteshazzar means Bel, protect the king. Bel. Belteshazzar after my own God. So it clearly states that Nebuchadnezzar was worshiping Bel, not the Most High. Daniel renamed Belteshazzar after my own God, lowercase g, by the way, and in whom the Spirit of God most holy resides, then came into my presence. I told him my dream. "Belteshazzar," I said, "chief of magicians, I know that the Spirit of God most holy resides in you, and that no mystery puts you at a loss. This is the dream I have had. Tell me what it means." Verse 7. "The visions that passed through my head as I lay in bed were these. I saw a tree in the middle of the world. It was very tall. The tree grew taller and stronger until its top reached the sky, and it could be seen from the ends of the earth. Its foliage was beautiful, its fruit abundant, and in it was food for all. The wild animals it provided shade. The birds of heaven nested in its branches. all living creatures found their food on it, on the tree. I watched the visions passing through my head as I lay in bed. Next, a watcher, a holy one, came down from heaven. At the top of his voice, he shouted, "Cut down the tree, lop off its branches, strip off its leaves, throw away its fruit. Let the animals flee from its shelter and the birds from its branches, but leave the stumps in the ground, bound with hoops of iron and bronze, in the grass of the field. Let him be drenched with the dew of heaven. Let him share the grass of the earth with the animals. Let his heart turn from mankind. Let a beast's heart be given to him, and 7 times pass over him." Such is the sentence proclaimed by the watchers, the verdict announced by the holy ones, that every living thing may learn that the Most High rules over the kingship of men. He confirms it on whom he pleases and raises the lowest of mankind. So that was the dream. When it talks about I see a tree, if you go to Proverbs 13:12, it speaks about a tree. This is what it says. Proverbs 13:12. Hope deferred makes the heart sick. Desire fulfilled is a tree of life. Okay, so think about this for a minute. You've got Nebuchadnezzar. Let's look at what he did in the last 3 chapters. Why don't we? Huh? Yeah. So he renames people. Daniel, Hananiah, Azariah, and Mishael. He renamed them after his own God. What were those names? Let's check this out again. So Daniel's original name means God is my judge, and he changed it to Belteshazzar. Belteshazzar is Bel, protect the king. Hananiah's original name means Yahweh is gracious. He changed it to Shadrach, command of Aku. Mishael's original name was who is like God. He changed it to Meshach, who is what Aku is. Azariah's original name was Yahweh has helped. And he changed it to Abednego, servant of Nebu. So that's chapter 1. That's what he did in the first chapter. And then in the second chapter, we see that he is having another dream. And, he gets it interpreted. None of the magician, wizards, enchanters, cantannationers, none of them were able to give Nebuchadnezzar the interpretation of his dream. But here comes Daniel, with the Most High resonating in him, and he was able to interpret his dream. So then we see Nebuchadnezzar building a statue of gold. And, and said that when people heard the sounds of music, those 6 different types of tones of music, they were to bow down and worship the gold. And then he takes it a step further and says, who doesn't bow down and worship shall be killed. He was killing people that wouldn't bow down and worship gold. That is what Nebuchadnezzar was doing. So he threw Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah into the furnace that was 7 times hotter. On his command, he commanded that the furnace be 7 times hotter. He watched his own men be burned alive that were throwing Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah into the fire. They were burned alive. That is what Nebuchadnezzar was doing. Look how sick he was. So he has a dream about this tree and how it's going to get cut down, stumped. Verse 15. This is the dream I had, I, Nebuchadnezzar, the king. Now it is for you, Belteshazzar, to pronounce on it its meaning, since not one of the sages in my kingdom has been able to interpret it for me. You, Daniel, however, will be able to, because the Spirit of God most holy resides in you. Verse 16. Daniel, known as Belteshazzar, Bel protect the king, hesitated for a moment in embarrassment. The king said, Belteshazzar, do not be alarmed at the dream and its meaning. Daniel answered, My lord, may the dream apply to your enemies, and its meaning to your foes. The tree you saw that grew so tall and strong that it reached the sky and could be seen from the ends of the earth. Okay, footnote. This tree started at bare bottom earth and went all the way up to the sky. Now, I personally have been 14,000 feet up on top of a mountain in Colorado. It was Mount Beardstadt. That's the mountain that I climbed. 14,000 feet up, and I wasn't in the sky. This is an enormous tree. This is a huge tree. Verse 17, the tree you saw that grew so tall and strong that it reached the sky and could be seen from the ends of the earth. The ends of the earth. And please tell me how there's an end to the earth if it's round. I'm sorry. Verse 18, the tree with beautiful foliage and abundant fruit, with food for all in it, providing shade for the wild animals, with the birds of heaven nesting in its branches. That tree is yourself, O king, for you have grown tall and strong. Your stature is now so great that it reaches the sky, and your rule extends to the end of the earth. The ends of the earth. I'm sorry. I like saying the ends of the earth because I don't live on a round earth. Because, see, there's an end to the earth. I'm so passionate about this. I hope I'm not. I hope it's being perceived properly. Verse 20. And the watchers seen by the king, the Holy One coming down from heaven and saying, Cut the tree down and destroy it, but leave stump and roots in the ground, bound with hoops of iron and bronze, the last two kingdoms. And his dream in chapter 2. Bronze and iron were the last two kingdoms. Those were the legs and feet. Bound with hoops of iron and bronze in the grass of the field. Let him be drenched with the dew of heaven. Now, mind you, the dew of heaven is what originally allowed the grass, the trees, and the plants to grow. The Lord released the dew of heaven down to the earth, and it helped all of that vegetation grow. The dew of heaven. So here we go again. Let him be drenched with the dew of heaven. Let him share with the wild animals until 7 times has passed over him. 7 years. The meaning of this, O king, this decree of the Most High, passed on my lord the king, is this. Verse 22. You are to be driven from human society and live with the wild animals. You will feed on grass like oxen. You will be drenched by the dew of heaven. 7 times will pass over you until you have learned that the Most High rules over the kingship of men and confers it on whom he pleases. Verse 23. And the order, leave the stump and the roots of the tree, means that your kingdom will be kept for you until you come to understand that the heaven rules all. May it please the king to accept my advice. By virtuous actions break your sins. Break with your crimes by showing mercy to the poor, and so live long and peacefully. Verse 25. This all happened to King Nebuchadnezzar 12 months later, a whole year later. Okay, he had a whole year to think about this. A whole year. And this is what happens. 12 months later, while strolling on the roof of the royal palace in Babylon, the king was saying, "Great Babylon, inferior palace, was it not built by me alone? By my own might and power to the glory of my majesty?" Question mark. The boost was not out of his mouth when a voice came from heaven. King Nebuchadnezzar, these words are for you. Sovereignty is taken from you. You are to be driven from human society and live with the wild animals. You will feed on grass like an oxen, and 7 times will pass over you until you have learned that the Most High rules over the kingships of men and confirms it on whom he pleases. Verse 30, the words were immediately fulfilled. Praise Yah. You're telling me that a sick man like this, who can threaten to kill innocent people that don't bow down and worship to him, this man can throw people into a burning furnace 7 times hotter. He can walk around with his pride, boasting about all the things he's done, and he's been given all of these signs and wonders, and he's still walking around like he's, the shizness or whatever. Praise Yah, he got punished. That was a punishment. That was a straight punishment for King Nebuchadnezzar, and praise Yah, he got it. Listen, I've had punishments in my life, and praise Yah that I received them. You want to talk about how the Lord is just and holy and righteous? He punished Nebuchadnezzar because Nebuchadnezzar deserved to be punished. Look at what he did. The words were immediately fulfilled. Nebuchadnezzar was driven from human society and fed on grass like oxen, and was drenched by the dew of heaven. His hair grew as long as eagle's feathers. His nails became like bird claws. When the time was over, I, Nebuchadnezzar, lifted my eyes to heaven. My reason returned. He no longer had a beast mentality. And I blessed the Most High. Well, good, because it's about time we all do. Praising and extolling him who lives forever. For his sovereignty is an eternal sovereignty. His empire lasts from age to age. The inhabitants of the earth count for nothing. And with the inhabitants of the earth, no one can arrest his hand or ask him, "What are you doing?" Verse 33, at that moment my reason returned. And to the glory of my royal state, my majesty and splendor returned too. My counselors and noblemen acclaimed me. I was restored to my throne, and to my past greatness even more was added. And now I, Nebuchadnezzar, praise and extol and glorify the King of heaven. His promises are always faithfully fulfilled. Always faithfully fulfilled. His ways are always just, and his power to humble those who walk in pride. Now, if you've been following some of the videos that I've been producing, I've spoke about pride, and I spoke about how Satan fell from heaven. He was an angel. His angel name was Lucifer, given by the Most High. But because of his pride, he was casted out of heaven and fell down. And his name became Satan after that. We can't walk around here with pride. We can't walk around here saying that we do all the great things that happen in our life. No. We have to give the praise where it's properly due to the Most High. The Most High. And I also want you to know, too, that before the words had actually come out of his mouth, verse 28, the boost was not out of his mouth when a voice came down from heaven. So here we go. It hadn't even come out yet. The Lord already knew what he was about to say. The Lord already knows. The Lord has already foretold all of this. He knew I was going to make this video before I woke up this morning. Praise Yah. He already knows everything. And he had a pretty severe punishment for Nebuchadnezzar, but I ain't mad at the Lord. That was a good punishment for him. Because at the end of his punishment, he realized who the Most High really was. And we also need to keep in mind that as we see our signs for the end, for the time, for that great day, we need to keep in mind that we need, just as Nebuchadnezzar said in chapter 3, how great are his signs, how mighty are his wonders. He was saying that before he got his 7 years of punishment. The Lord does give us signs. He does give us wonders in our own lives. It's up to us to accept that those are from Him. And that those are His ways shown to us. That we ourselves cannot do anything. There is nothing in me that is good outside of what the Lord has done for me. If the Lord hadn't come into my life, I would not be making a video for you right now. There was no good in me. But because I asked the Lord to come into my life, He has. And He has done severe wonders in my life. And He's going to do the same for you. I would be so encouraged if half of my subscribers would start sharing videos. We are called to share the gospel. So this is getting to be about 22 minutes. So I'm going to go ahead and stop this. But this was Daniel chapter 4. I hope it sat well with you.